Acuff. It is a blast to be back. This is time number 3. I've spoken more at the Ramsey organization than in churches. I'm not kidding. I spoke at Crosspoint in Nashville last July, and I really, in an ego way, was like, now I'm going to blow up. You know, like, now that I'm in the church scene, I'll probably preach a lot. I've done it one other time, and it was at my dad's church. It was a little, maybe, nepotism, but I killed it. It was great. But as Jake mentioned, the book released in April. It's been a fun, weird experience. I still have a day job, so every now and then I'll do like an interview at lunch with the UK, and the host will say, hey, it's going to be me, you, and the Bishop of Buckingham. And I'll say, of course. I mean, we're practically the same person, but if you want to have us both on, I understand that. And so it's just been this bizarre experience. And Zondervan actually made a cardboard cutout of me, side hugging. And they called me and they said, hey, there was a mistake. And I thought, awesome, it was too tall. Like, we made him too handsome or too muscular. Like, any of those would have been okay problems. But it was too short. So it's kind of like a 90% Jon Acuff. It's a scale model as well. And I'm going to put this down because we have 5 of these at our house, and some of them are set up, and you forget they're there. So you walk into a room, and you're like, there's a very flat man in the corner. Because you forget that that's there. So I'm going to go ahead and put that down because it would freak me out every time I turn. And so that's what I've been doing. I'm still talking about the same kind of stuff. I mean, one of the things that I've been spending a lot of time on is kind of some work against DVS. I don't know if you're familiar with that. It's something that we're wrestling with as a church body in Atlanta. You're probably wrestling with it too here in Nashville. It's deep V-neck syndrome. It's really pretty toxic. And I'm in stage 3 right now myself. And I wanted to go ahead and give you those stages in case you see it on like a metrosexual worship leader at your church. And you know that happens. I mean, if you see a white belt, you know. Like, if their watch looks like it could land lunar missions, you know it if they have an unnecessary scarf. You know, like, it's the t-shirt with the scarf. Like, if it's July in Georgia, you don't, the scarf is unnecessary. Or if they're reading their Bible verses from their iPhone from the stage, come on now. There isn't a place for that. But there's 5 stages to DVS. Stage 1, curiosity. You see a worship leader rocking one, you think, can I pull that off? I think I could. And nobody loves you enough to say no. You could not pull that off. You could not rock that. Stage 2, the first purchase. And no one goes right to Urban Outfitters or Buckle. Like, no one goes right to heroin. You start with what they call a baby V. It's just a little V. Something subtle. That's stage 2. Stage 3, judgment. Once a single V-neck has entered the ecosystem of your clothing, you start to judge all your other t-shirts. You look at those crew necks and you're like, you're so lazy. No flair, no flourish. What is this circle? It's so boring. I was at the register, and this is a true story, at Target with a shirt, and my wife said, hey, you know the maroon one isn't a V-neck. And I threw it like it was a pit viper. I was disgusted. Stage 4, sad, sad stage. You start to make your own. You get scissors and you start cutting your own. And I saw this happen at a church retreat that I was speaking at. One of the other leaders had the official weekend shirt on, and it was a V-neck, and I thought, how, relevant or postmodern or meta-narrative, like whatever the cool Christian word is, wow. Like maybe it's missional or emergent, whatever. And I realized later, they hadn't printed the shirt on a V-neck. He had made that. And because we were in a retreat, he didn't have tools, so he cut it with like a Bowie knife. It was all like jagged and thready. It was horrible. Stage 5, you just go all the way in. and you go to American Apparel, and you get one of those shirts where I can see your diaphragm. Your collar should never interact with your belt. If I can tell whether you're an innie or an outie belly button, that's not a shirt, it's a vest. So, I mean, clearly I'm traveling the country dealing with some hard-hitting issues that are attacking our faith. I'm still writing about things like prayer, because prayer can be such a fun, weird thing. I realized the other day, I'm fine with somebody having their hand on me if it starts when the prayer starts. I just don't like the mid-prayer hand. You know, like it's the unexpected hand. Because I start to think, did God just tell him something? You know, like, because he didn't think I needed it earlier, and now, like, was God like, right now, touch Jon Acuff? And I always get the guy whose hand feels like it's trying to drive me through the crust of the earth. Like, I don't know how it's possible, but the guy who puts his hand on me has a 200-pound hand. And during prayer, unless you're my wife, I don't need any back circles of confession. There's just no call for that. And you see this sometimes in church with kind of the in-church massage where the wife starts rubbing the husband's neck and you're like, a little uncomfortable. And she's like, gets 2 hands. And it's like, get a table. You know, like maybe some fragrant jasmine oil. I don't know. So I'm still writing about stuff like that and just having a blast doing it. It's been fun. But as I mentioned, I still have a day job. So I go through this really weird experience whenever I come and do stuff like this, because this time tomorrow I'll be back in a cube. It'll be kind of like this was fictional. I'll go, I'll be filling out TPS reports and go, did I do that? Like, was that real yesterday? Was I on a stage talking to people about God? Like, did that happen? And so I'm at this kind of weird transition place where I'm really trying to be faithful to understanding what God wants me to do and pursue what dreams and pursue what opportunities. And as I wrestle with that, I think that it's really neat to think about that in terms of Lampo. Because I think you guys are just on the cusp of so many other big things. I mean, you've done tremendous work already. The last couple of years have been crazy with the financial crisis and the way you've been able to respond to that with truth. And then, talk about kind of the Joseph 7 years of feast, 7 years of famine preparation that you've done. I mean, these weren't unexpected opportunities you stepped into. You stepped into it prepared. But I think there's so much ahead of you, so many big opportunities. And so that's what I want to talk about today is, what do we do with the big opportunities God gives us? And as I look at the Bible and as I think through kind of different chapters and books, I've really become a fan of Nehemiah.